Okay, number 4, Madam Clerk, certification of compliance with open meetings law, please.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by Section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. Meeting agenda has been presented. Number 6, public comment. We have one slip in front of us here, and Mr. Ernest Martinson, please come to the podium, state your name and address, sir. You'll have 3 minutes.
Ernest Martinson, 15865 Guard Street, Hayward. The minimum wage can hurt those it's supposed to help, those with little work experience and skills, while the minimum size house required by Sawyer County zoning can hurt those who are short on capital. You build a house less than 500 square feet, and you can be a candidate for a cell in a county jail with the cell being much less than 500 square feet. A tiny house is one approach to housing, affordable housing, but it would be illegal in Sawyer County. And that's too bad, because a small house can be one way for a person to get his foot into the door of a house that could be added on to later. Ken Kern, the guy who I was trying to think of, he wrote a book called The Owner, Builder, and the Code. And he said that there was a Chinese proverb that said, man who finished building house dies. It can be hard to even begin building a house in Sawyer County. And then there's the 20-foot minimum width that precludes a narrow north-south span with a long east-west axis with glass on the south and partial earth berm on the north. That building could be extended on both the east and west ends until the floor area eventually exceeded the floor area of the mansions found on Sawyer County shorelands. It was possible to build a house without a mortgage in Sawyer County. My parents did so, and so did my grandparents. But that was before zoning came to Sawyer County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else for public comment? You, ma'am, you in the back, do you want public comment? Okay. Alex, will you run that up to me, please? Go ahead, come to the podium, ma'am, state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Carol Martin. I live at W1902 Highway 63 in Springbrook, and I'm here on behalf of the Adult Long-Term Care Unit, which includes staff working for the ADRC and Adult Protective Services, and on behalf of the people from other units who have confided in me. The few people I know who are in favor of the final PTO proposal seem most concerned about some employees using sick leave inappropriately. That could be changed by adjusting policy without the need to change to a PTO system and have employees lose hours in. People who take sick leave when they're sick, thus violating the policy, should have consequences. But if there's a concern that people take mental health days at sick leave, which is not the policy, change the policy, clarify definitions, and create consequences. Or call the days wellness volunteer days. Have leaders talk to staff when the issues come up. Why would you want to retain a person who doesn't adhere to a policy? And why would you want to reward those people by giving them carte blanche to use time whenever they want? My team doesn't take a lot of sick leave. The caseloads are too high, and they're too responsible. For me, the current sick time reminds me that I can go to the doctor without losing income. I'm concerned that if all time is considered PTO, employees will want to save as many hours as possible for vacations. And in the next year, will try to use up their sick leave bank before their time is tied up into FLMA rules. Sawyer County is an employee feeder program to our surrounding counties. They can pay more, they can offer better benefit packages. We've seen no data about July's Employee Monkey Survey, information about how other counties retain their employees, if other counties have PTO, and how that works for them, or in what year of service most people leave Sawyer. I also have concern for future PTO that supervisors will dole out carrots, rewards, to employees based on performance. With this policy, employees will lose hours and then will be given the opportunity to earn those hours back through job performance, or someone else will earn their lost hours. The A+ students will always get PTO, And the ones who struggle will never be allowed to go out to recess. If you think using sick leave inappropriately causes workplace grumbles, I ask you to imagine what this will do to our units. We're not a car dealership. We're not a sales dealership. We work for people. We work hard, and we have very stressful jobs. The main issue I hear about from my unit and others is that the loss of hours, any hours, is a step backwards in the time that we've served the county. When we were hired, there was an agreement between employer and employee. We have choices to choose healthcare changes by early December. And how does it increase morale for Sawyer County to change our agreements so quickly? Employees have mentioned to me that PTO categories have already been implemented in our payroll system sometime during the last payroll period, which ended last Saturday. This afternoon, we received an email recruiting wellness committee members and outlining wellness benefits. This board hasn't even voted yet.
Okay, can
The
you wrap it up, ma'am? We're at about 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else for public comment? I know, Madam Clerk, we have something emailed to us. Anybody online, Alex?
Hi, am I invited to speak?
No, we're in public comment, ma'am. So I just need your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Nicole Papero, and I live at 6069 LPE Road in Stone Lake, Wisconsin. I just wanted to thank Carol for standing up and speaking on behalf of the PTO plan. I was someone who spoke out against the plan last Thursday, and at that meeting, we were told that we would be taking a month before revisiting the topic. So I was a little alarmed when this meeting got put through so quickly. I've already spoken. I just want to express again that I'm not for this plan. Losing hours is detrimental to my family. And I personally and firmly believe that the fact that I now have to work more hours for the same rate of pay means that I have been issued a pay cut. And I guess I'm just confused as to what I've done to warrant that. So thank you, Carol, for speaking up. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, Madam Clerk.
It's a lengthy letter, so cut me off at the 3-minute mark.
I will. Who's it from, ma'am?
It is from
Name and
a
address.
Jason Prince, Sawyer County Highway Department.
Okay.
I am emailing this as I am not able to attend the board meeting as I have prior obligations. I am trying to speak on behalf of the Highway Department stating that we are against PTO. I have watched a couple meetings where this has been a topic of discussion and is being pushed through as fast as they can without regard for the county employee perspective in mind. We had a meeting with Andy Alvarado in November of 2023 in regards to us finding out about PTO. We all as a whole talked and gave Andy our opinions about switching to PTO, and everyone was against this. This does not benefit the county in any way, and we are all confused as to why this is being brought to a vote if it has no benefit to the county. As it stands right now, we are able to accrue 193.5 hours of sick vacation time in a year, and with our floating holiday added, it is 201.5 hours per year. In our first proposal, we were able to accrue 156 hours in a year, and it was stated that we were able to accrue a year's worth of time and at that date, if we are over, it would go into an extended leave bank and would be able to roll over every year. With this proposal, we would be losing 37 hours of vacation sick time. After our meeting, Andy went back and revised the proposal, and that was sent back to us in the beginning of December. This proposal was looked over and was found that we would be losing 33.6 hours of sick vacation time and our sick bank altogether. We also found that if we have time in that bank once exhausted, it would be eliminated completely. Andy also put into the proposal that we would be losing our floating holiday and making it a permanent holiday, which was put into place to use at our own convenience instead of it being a set holiday. On top of losing our sick bank and the freedom to use our floating holiday, we would still be losing 33.6 hours of sick vacation time. I have been within this county for around 8 years, combining with the jail and highway shop, and we all have to benefit from, and all we have to benefit from is our sick vacation time and our state benefits. This county used to be something where people would be lining up outside the door waiting to get a job opportunity, and now we are lucky if we have 10 applicants in a year. We used to have a health savings account that would roll over yearly, and that was taken away. We used to accrue vacation time at 8 hours every month, and that was taken away. We used to gain days sooner through vacation time, and that was changed. This county continues to take away and not to think about employees and how it will affect their lives. I have a daughter that I need to bring to the cities once a month for an unknown period of time to get medications. I try banking as many hours as I can so that I am able to make these appointments and still be able to afford the cost of living.
Okay, 3 minutes,
Thank
ma'am. All right, thank you. Okay, if there's no one else for public comment, we'll move on then to number 7, appointments and recognition. A 2-year County Board of Canvass appointment. Madam Clerk?
Yes, this is a renewal that we have to do every 2 years. The County Board of Canvassers review the elections after every election. And the slate of candidates is the same as we had 2 years ago. It is for the Democrat Party. We have Kay Whitten. For the Republican Party, we have Mary Jane Moffitt. And thankfully, we have Patty Swafield, the Town of Hunter clerk, agreeing to stay on, and Liz Klein, Town of DeRaper clerk, being alternate. So we just need to have those 2-year terms approved again.
Sure, thank you. So this is an discussion action item. Ms. Hessel?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2-year County Board of Canvass appointments.
Okay, Mr. Kinsley?
Second the motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Kinsley to approve the appointments listed by Madam Clerk for the 2-year County Board of Canvass appointments. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, letter B, Health and Human Services Retirement. Andy, you want to handle that?
Sure. We did include on the agenda to recognize Patty DeJordan with her retirement in early January. We're not going to do that. We will acknowledge that she's retiring in early January with over 33 going on 34 years of service. We're not doing this tonight, anything more formal, because Human Services will be hosting a tea on January 2nd that you'll be getting an invite for, along with the HHS board and staff and others, where they'll be recognizing Patty and her retirement then. So,
Okay.
appreciate her years of service.
Yep, information only, correct, Andy?
Correct.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to number 8, consider approval of our meeting minutes, November 14, 2023. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Mr. Buckholz?
Make motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Marshall? Thank you. Motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Marshall, to approve the meeting minutes as presented. Is there any further discussion? Alex, you will alert me, anybody online with a hand up, right? Okay. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Number 9, Zoning Committee Chair Report. Mr. Buckholz.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The zoning committee held its monthly public hearing last Friday. At this meeting, the committee heard 2 rezone cases, which we will be discussed at January County Board. The last month's committee meeting, and the committee heard and approved 3 conditional use permits and 1 rezone case. The committee continues to work through the ordinance amendment focusing around the multi-dwelling development. The draft language is available on the Sawyer County zoning website, and we are hoping to move forward with these case amendments over the next few months. The zoning department again has issued land use permits from the previous year. This now marks the largest number of permits issued over the last 16 years. If there is no additional questions, I will turn it over to Mr. Kozlowski to present the rezone case. That ends my report, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
All right, Jay, come forward, please.
Yes, thank you. Jay Kozlowski, zoning administrator of 1 rezone case tonight. This is rezone 23-012 JBT Properties LLC. It's in the town of Round Lake. Parcel ID 024-841-012402. Purpose of the request is to rezone a 100-foot by 352-foot area, which is 0.8 acres, from Forestry 1 to Agricultural 2. This is part of a property sale to adjacent property owner. This 0.8 acres we'll refer to as the strip. In conversations with the applicant, this rezone is needed to sell the strip of land to the neighbor property to the south. Since JBT's property is zoned Forestry 1 and the neighbors to the south, which is the Arnett's property, is zoned A2, the only way to sell this strip of land would be to rezone it. There is a pending CSM, pending approval with ratification of the zone district change. There is to be no additional lots created. We're just moving property lines. Conditions cannot be added to the rezone. However, there are other ordinance standards that apply that with approval of the rezone, the strip of land would need to be absolved into the Arnett's property. Town of Round Lake Comprehensive Plan shows it as private forestry and agricultural within that same area. They're both similar in nature and require 5-acre lot minimums. Both parcel sizes will still result in 5 acres. And again, there is no additional lots to be created. Town of Round Lake approved the rezone request on November 9th of 2023. There were 3 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. No additional comments were returned. Sawyer County Zoning Committee public hearing November 15th, 2023. It was recommended for approval of a vote 5-0.
Okay. Ms. Hessel.
Make a motion to approve rezone 23-012.
Thank you. Okay. Motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Ms. Wilson to approve the resolution amending the rezone. 23-012. Is there any further discussion? If not, we have an electronic vote, right, Madam Clerk?
We're going to give this software a try. I found out it had some
Okay.
upgrades, which is why it was giving us grief before. So it should be open for voting.
Yep.
And may
And
I
motion is to approve
to
the rezone.
approve? And Mr. Rusk, may I cast your vote?
Nice
This
work,
was
Jay.
a pretty easy one and with no
Nice
opposition
work, Jay.
anywhere along
Okay.
the case there.
Motion is to approve rezone.
Mr. Helwig, cast your vote. And Mr. Peters.
Yes.
I think I have to get some new batteries in them.
Am I?
There it goes.
I'm not?
Mr. Buckholzer's didn't take.
How about
I
now?
think I'm gonna have to replace batteries. John?
Did mine? Okay.
Yeah, Ron's is
There we
in now.
go. Now we have it. I think we have it.
You guys can see it. Okay, we in?
And we are in with a 12-0 vote, so it.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Anything else for our zoning committee chair? Questions, concerns? Thank you, Mr. Buckholz. All right, moving on then to number 10, Public Safety Committee Chair Report. Again, Mr. Buckholz.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. We had our Public Safety Committee meeting on December 7th. Judges Yackel advised that Branch 2 Judicial Assistant is back to work. He and Judge Isham have been meeting with the Recovery Court team, and at the beginning of 2024, we should be operating at full speed with both judicial seats. Clerk of Court was given a report. The listing of type of new trial cases filed on October 24th through November 28th was included. 3 jury trials are scheduled during the month of December. Mrs. Kelsey advised that the financial clerk has been able to begin collections operations. Sheriff's Department report, Communication Center report, a written report was provided and reviewed. Lieutenant Rapinski recognized the retirement of Lynn Poppy from dispatch on December 2nd. There was an additional fatal car crash. Deflection training begun that day. Patrol report, a written report was provided by Lieutenant Waller. Lieutenant Waller didn't give that report, did he?
I'm sorry,
Patrol
I was
report?
watching.
Well, anyway, an average population and the daily jail population remains that past years are 2 are currently on monitoring and Huber list. Jail, oh, they're just backwards. A written report and the current unemployment rate is 84%. And the total population was at 62. These are currently 2 individuals on electronic monitoring. That's gonna end my report, Mr. Chairman. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Now, I got one other one on the special. I think I like to just go over that briefly, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. On December 19th, 2023, the Public Safety Committee had a special committee meeting on vehicle take-home policy for out-of-county deputies. I'm not gonna read through the whole thing. I'm just gonna say that it was voted down 2-3 against. The topic will go to January's public safety meeting. That ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Buckholz. We do have one action item under public safety. We go to letter B, Town of Bass Lake Ambulance Contract 2024. Who wants to handle that? You want to handle that, Mr. Alvarado, please?
Yes, we have had 3 Washburn County towns that have had a contract with Sawyer County Ambulance to provide ambulance coverage. We took a proposal out for increasing the contract amount in '24. One town of Bass Lake is wanting to continue on at a rate of $60 per capita. That is it's not as high as we wanted, but it is a 50% increase over what it was. The other 2 towns, the north half of the town of Birchwood and the town of Stone Lake, have opted to go with other services into the for next year.
Okay, so this is a discussion action item. It is the ambulance service agreement with the town of Bass Lake and Sawyer County. Correct, Andy?
Correct.
Okay, board, pleasure of the board. Looking for motion to approve.
I'll make that motion to approve it. The Town of Bass Lake ambulance contract for 2024.
Okay,
I'll second.
Mr. Savitsky, okay, got a motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Mr. Savitsky, approving the ambulance service agreement with Town of Bass Lake and Sawyer County. Is there any further discussion? Anybody online, Alex? With a hand up? Okay. If not, this is another electronic vote, correct, Madam Clerk?
That is correct. And
Motion is to approve the ambulance service agreement with Town of Bass Lake.
Mr. Peters, may I collect your
Voting
vote?
is open.
Yes.
Mr. Rusk
Yes.
and Mr. Helwig.
Yes.
And it passes 12-0.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Buckholz. Moving on to number 11, Public Works Committee Chair Report. Mr. Kinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works met on Wednesday night a week ago. We get a written report.
There you go. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for pointing that out. The maintenance department does a good job. They're waiting for snow just like everybody else is. Maybe the snow won't come this year. We can't be that lucky. The airport contract for getting resurfaced is going to be in the future. It's a federal grant that comes to pay for most of that, but the county does have to pay for 5% of that. We have a new company going to plow snow this year. Thompson Gravel did it last year, and they said they were not interested in doing it this year. And we also have 2 hangar leases that'll be on the agenda. The highway department is finishing up storm damage that we get extra money for. And in the future, there's going to be work on a roundabout down by the LCO, and that potentially could be done by 2028. That concludes my report at this time.
And that roundabout is at the intersection of B and K?
Yes.
Correct, sir? Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions for Public Works Committee?
Then we have the 2 agendas.
If not, we have 2 hangar lease approvals, correct?
Yes.
And Madam Clerk, do you want to handle that, or Andy?
Yes, we have 2 new hangar leases. These are existing tenants, but they are entering into new 20-year leases with us under our, we've been taking a few of these on every year as their leases expire, putting in the new 20-year lease that has the updated FAA provisions as well as the new pay rate and an annual adjustment based on consumer price index. So the first one is for Clifton Corn and Gary Petrich. And then the other one is the Lund Hanger lease.
Okay, so we'll do these once at a time?
Yep.
Okay,
And they were approved at the Public Works meeting. Thank you.
thank you, thank you. And this is a 20-year renewal, is that what you're saying?
It's a new 20-year.
New 20-year. Ms. Hessel?
I don't know if they had their lights on before I
Oh,
did.
sorry.
Oh, I make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Okay, the first hanger lease?
Yes.
All right. Is that a second, Ms. Hessel?
I'll second that for the Clifton Corn and the Gary Petrich lease.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Buckholt, second by Ms. Hessel to approve the Corn Petrich lease agreement for 20 years. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 2. Andy, it's a Lund hanger lease, sir?
Yes. Same as the prior lease, that their current lease is expiring. This is a new 20-year lease. This one commences on September 1. It has the annual CPI rate adjustment. Both these leases don't expire and won't go into place until well into next year, but clerk's doing a great job of getting these out early, so we have time for them to sign them and get the rates adjusted and pro-rata payments for next year taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hessel?
I make a motion to approve the Lund lease.
Okay. Second by Mr. Kinsley. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kinsley.
Mr. Chairman, we have letter B, which is courthouse remodel. I'm
Oh.
sure Andy will take care of it when he gets through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, at the end? Okay. All right, moving on, number 12 then. Land, Water, Forest, Resource Committee Chair Report. Mr. Peters.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Land, Forest, and Water Resources Committee met on December 13th, 2023. We approved the Sealy Big Fat Tire Race routes for January 20th, 2024. We held a discussion regarding enhanced weight on lakes, and we have the Sawyer County resolution being sent to all county clerks, and we're still not sure of all of the hearings, but there are 2 bills that at the time of our meeting that were scheduled for hearings in Madison. And those 2 bills are the main subject of the Sawyer County resolution, because they take over the job that was assigned to the towns and also jeopardize the shoreline. There's another bill that at that time had not received a hearing date. It's better because the towns still have a say in protecting their shorelines, and it also allows for more protection of shorelines because it requires a greater distance from the shore for these craft to operate. We did get a report from the Ray that they are very concerned about erosion, especially on the Chippewa flowage and other shallow lakes where the lake substrate might be disturbed. But the problem with neither of these bills is neither of them consider the water depth as part of the issue, and there are other factors that may go into this also. Land Records reported that there's a new interactive mapping website that's being tested, and a link was shared with Land, Water, and Forest Resources Committee members. On trails, motorized trails are transitioning to winter conditions. And right now I put winter in quotation marks. But work on rehab is continuing. On silent sports, the silent sports trails are developing new trail signage and improving those trails. On county forest, there is good activity, and they have surpassed their annual target for sales, which is good news. And then we will be talking in another section of this area on the county gravel pit, on county land. Under conservation and zoning, tree sales are at 56% of inventory sold already. They're undergoing training for invasive species control and agricultural nutrient management. And they're still looking for an ag representative for the land, water, and forest resources. Recruiter at conservation is beginning a 40-acre habitat improvement project, and that concludes my report, and I think it's time to move on to the consideration of that gravel pit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Peters. All right, we will go to letter B then, Andy, the gravel pit parcel map. And what do you want us to prove here, sir?
Yeah, this has gone before the Public Works Committee as well as the Land, Water, Forestry Committee. The Highway Department operates gravel pits. We're actually closing one out, but we are running out of gravel. And so we need to identify another source of that gravel for county projects. The site that you see on the map is located off of Pitt Road up Highway 77 near other gravel pits. They've done some test borings and determined there is a good gravel supply there. It is on county land. It's county forest land. So that's why the Land, Water, Forestry Committee approved proceeding with, at this point, we're just applying for it to become a non-metallic mine or a gravel pit. So that committee approved it because it's county forest, and then Public Works approved since it would aid the Highway Department. And this would just be a motion to keep on proceeding with the process. We have to make application through the zoning department, prepare a operation plan, a reclamation plan, and get the, is it a conditional use permit is what we're going for there. And then we also have to go through the town of Round Lake and their licensing agreement as well. So this would just continue the process of getting the necessary approvals to operate that, to develop and operate it.
Motion to continue the application process, correct? And Mr. Buckholz?
I'll make that motion to approve the application process.
Mr. Kinsley?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Buckholz, second by Mr. Kinsley to approve motioning the application process for a gravel pit on Pitt Road, 40 acres, correct?
The site is 40 acres.
Okay. All right, and this is a voice vote, so is there any further discussion? Anyone online? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Number 13, Health and Human Services Chair Report. Mr. Schlueter.
Thank you. LCO Liaison Bill Trepagna introduced Dr. Malcolm, who discussed ARV, which I'm still not sure what it is, but it's a virus that's going around, and it's not good. We're going to get more on that. We recognize Patty Desjardins as a fiscal manager will retire on January 2000. January 2000, 2024, January 33. Youth Justice had 4 referrals in 2023 with the option, I'm sorry about my reading skills here tonight. An open position has been filled. ADRC continues to receive steady phone calls. 16 staff have been trained in dementia. Okay. I'm sorry, in dementia cases. I'm sorry I'm doing so poorly here. I've got some health issues going with me, so please bear with me.
Sure, we can continue, Mr. Leader.
Yeah. You want to do that, please? Thank you.
Can finish it off. The last thing they say is Sawyer County has a high rate of hepatitis C from 2020 to 2022, and we are highlighting the importance of screening and treatment with our providers.
Okay.
May I speak?
Thank you, Lynn.
Oh, yeah, Ms. Wilson?
I'm vice chair of that committee, and Dr. Malcolm came to speak to us because of an RSV outbreak at the daycare and the
Head Start.
Head Start at LCO, and he said it was a mini epidemic, and he was quite concerned, but he was explaining the medications that they are providing to the children. One child was sent up to Duluth, so it was quite an interesting conversation and an important information. Thanks.
Yep, thank you for adding that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Schluter. All right, we'll move on then to number 14, Finance Committee Chair Report. Mr. Kinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had the meeting, the results of the 2020 audit presentation was done. We've got a real good cleanup bill of health for a small county, and I think we owe our administration applause for doing such a good job. The sales tax distribution, we're on pace to break about $3 million this year. I think that's going to be the highest we've ever had. Budget report updates were presented. The capital improvement plan of purchasing is on target moving forward. And we did something different, was the clerk of courts, they have X amount of dollars that they have used for bonds, and the accountants have put together so we can get interest from that money. We've never done that before, so we're gonna now draw interest off some of that money. That concludes my report.
Excellent, sir. Okay. All right, then we have a letter B then. Chairman, we got a Health and Human Services proposed fees for 2024. Mr. Alvarado.
Yes, included in the packet is the proposed fees for 24 for Health Human Services. This was actually approved at the Human Services Board in November. We didn't include it in the fee document that went through with the budget. Since those meetings were so close together, we didn't want to amend the fee document you already seen. So by approving this, this would be implemented into the fee booklet that was approved last month with these updated fees.
Okay, and it was approved at the Health and Human Services and Finance, sir?
Just Human Services.
Human Services, okay. Ms. Hessel.
I make a motion to approve the 2024 fee schedule as proposed.
Mr. Buckholz?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Buckholz, approving the 2024 fee schedule for Health and Human Services. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, this is an electronic vote. If you want to set that up, motion is to approve.
This was a voice vote.
Oh, voice vote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, number 15, Economic Development UW Extension Chair Report. Mr.
Thank you.
Righeimer. Yes, sir.
I'm without the minutes, but I'm going to go off of memory here looking at the agenda. We had a presentation by the UW Extension on gardens, really, about different types of vegetables that grow well in the north, a short growing season, which is an interesting report. Hayward Lakes and Visitor Bureau had a presentation. talking about the Oshkosh.
There was the Oshkosh Ice Fishing Show that was successful, and then they also talked about their marketing efforts.
Yeah, Stacy was there helping them, and I think what's impressive about that whole thing is their activity, but it's all run by volunteers, so no cost to having the people there, and it's, we're lucky to have volunteers go to that. Library updates, both Winter and Hayward Library gave an update. They've been doing a lot of things, very successful, dinosaur kind of scheme, helping kids with manners and so forth. Dinosaurs showing bad behavior, and then obviously, you know, the opposite is the behavior you're looking for. Motorized Trail Report, the ATV Alliance gave a presentation. They are, I think it's out there now. It sounds like all the taverns and so forth will have the ability, if people can, the QR codes to help understand how many people are using the trails and where they're using them and so forth. That should be great information to help us plan for that type of stuff in the future. Broadband update that continues to slowly grow. Historical Society, they're in their off years, but they're still open, I think, 1 day a week. Interesting stuff going on over there. The LCO update is primarily around the health clinic, which I believe is 25, supposed to be done. Looks like a lot of work's being done over there. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Righeimer.
Can I piggyback and just say that
Yeah,
they gave the silent sport report too, and the Berkeys having their 50th year this year, so it'll be bigger and better than ever.
Better, and they are making snow there, I guess. So I guess you can ski in certain areas there.
Gotcha, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, moving on, number 16, County Administrator's Report. Mr. Alvarado. Whatever you would like to give, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
First item A is the proposed conversion to PTO. So this is attached as the proposal. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Yep, we got her. Thank you.
So item A is the 2024, the proposal to convert to a PTO benefit for most of the employees. This is the proposal that was presented at the admin committee last week and then earlier this week, and was approved to move to the board for consideration tonight. This would be a change in policy and in the personnel manual, so it requires board approval. I'll run through kind of I'm not going to go line by line of what's in the proposal. I'll try to highlight what it would be, and then I anticipate taking questions. So as probably most people know, paid time off is kind of a newer benefit that usually combines all the other paid time off that was provided before, like vacation, sick leave. Some places roll in bereavement or other time or personal time. Ours strictly would replace current vacation and sick time benefit for most departments. We did not include the county departments that are staffed 24 hours. That would be like EMS, the ambulance, the sheriff's department, dispatch, jail, and patrol. And I guess I want to clarify that. That was a point of contention, and it probably still is a point of contention with one department. It is not the nature of their jobs that they work around the clock or that they're emergency. It's that we staff them 24 hours a day, and we have different ways that they schedule themselves. They bid for vacation time. When somebody doesn't fill a slot, we need to put somebody in the shift 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So we're not proposing to move them to PTO. For one, the sheriff deputies, that would be a reopener of the contract. We already have their vacation, sick time in the contract. And also it's potentially, honestly, more expensive to the county potentially, because we're going to be giving additional unrestricted time. And in those departments, when we don't fill a shift, we have to fill it. If we don't have somebody filling a shift, we have to plug somebody in or order somebody in. So that's why we left them out. We acknowledge other departments, like highway, work when they need to work, but really pulling them into PTO is just, it's consistent with the rest of the county that doesn't work the around the clock or work 12-hour, 24-hour schedules as well as a complicating factor. So the switch to PTO has been stated. There is, compared to what an employee is getting in current vacation and sick time total, PTO, there would be an overall reduction in the accrual. And roughly, depending on the years of service, there's a different accrual rate. But for PTO, it'd be about 4 days less than what they would get if they stay with vacation sick. Now, the upside of that, or the upside to some employees at least, would be that it's 4 days less, but they're getting 8 days more of unrestricted time. It's not, sick time does have a restriction that it's supposed to be used when you're illness, injury, or at medical appointments, doctor's appointments. Now it would just be PTO. All time is just time to be used how the employee feels that needs to be used for whatever personal situation or personal things they have going on, or what their priorities are. With that reduction of 4 days though, originally we had proposed 2 days of what we called community service time, where we wanted to encourage employees to take on community engagement, being involved in the community, primarily as a wellness type benefit that, you know, when you do those types of things that are different than your job, hopefully you take something away from those that provides you with some benefit as well. That was a difficult sell. We received a fair amount of feedback that was not favorable, so we included wellness in that component now. So now it's community service or wellness. And really with the wellness, we've made broad definitions for both of those. We're not gonna approve what's community service or wellness. Later on in the proposal, you'll see a definition of wellness that's pretty much anything that the person wants to engage in at their choice that promotes or improves their personal, mental, physical, emotional well-being. And I said at the last week's meeting, literally, if spending time with your kids provides you wellness, if you have wellness appointments you want to go to, if you want to go fishing, all those things would be counted. So effectively, my viewpoint, those are flexible days. And we could just roll that into PTO, but there's a specific point we were trying to accomplish with designating those as service or wellness days, is that we talk a lot about employee health and the stress of their jobs and giving some work-life balance. So we do want to keep those separate, because when they claim that time, we want them to acknowledge, I took this day for my well-being and just here's what I did. And that's it. We're not, you know, going to say yes or no that it's approved, but we do want employees to make a conscious effort to focus on their wellness that we think benefits them and benefits the county as the employer. So a couple of the goals when we started this, now how it originated was not that everybody said they wanted PTO, although in the survey there was 60% that said they were in favor of PTO, but understandably we didn't give them the details of how much time. But they also, in the survey, we heard things about wanting work-life balance. They acknowledged, or they talked about the stress of their job and needing time, and want to have benefits for wellness or promote personal wellness. So PTO is one of those tools that we can give the employee control of their time. And understand that, you know, not everybody is in favor of this, obviously, but it does give the employee control of their time to determine what they need and how they want to use it. And they can balance their life how they want. The other goals, nobody loses time. Like any time they've earned already and that's in their bank is still going to be with them and in their bank. The sick leave that they currently have banked would be frozen as of, not frozen, but they would not accrue anymore start of 1/1/24. They would have access to their bank just as they have without any types of approvals through all of next year to give them time to adjust and then accrue PTO time. After their first year, we do want to have some verification that it is sick leave. We talk about an FMLA qualifying event that just allows us to verify if need be that it is for medical approval or with approval. We're not, excuse me, there's no intention to unreasonably restrict access to the time. That's theirs, and it's a liability to us because if an employee meets the criteria for a payout, if they've been here 15 years, depending on when they started, we have to pay out that time. So we want them to be able to use it. We just want to verify and maintain the integrity of it being sick leave. So if they were planning on getting a payout when they leave, that time will still be there. We're not changing any of the criteria for a payout of sick time. But after 1/1/25, you know, if they're just out today because they're sick, we would see that as a PTO day. All vacation time that they've earned and have as a balance would be the start of their PTO account. So starting 1/1/24, they would start to accrue PTO time on top of the PTO time would be added to their current vacation balance. In the proposal, you can see the length of service tiers. 0 to 5, 5, 8, 10. We did move 11 years to 10 years just to try to get closer to have everything on the 5-year tier and the amount of PTO days accrued or that they can accrue in a year. And that's based off of an 8-hour day, 40-hour week employee, shows the per payroll accrual that they would have. We did, since they would not be accruing any more sick leave, which they would still, like I said, still is there. PTO, they'd be able to build their bank up to the equivalent of 80 days, according to their weekly hours. So a 40-hour week employee, 8-hour or 40-hour week employee would be able to accrue up to 640 hours in their PTO account at their anniversary date. And then they would be able to have that paid out whenever they separate from the county. If it's a resignation in good standing at any time, they get paid the balance up to 40 days. And if it's retirement, it would be up to 60 days. And I see that as a benefit to the employee because right now your sick leave payout is only if you have to be here at least 15 years and you get paid out 50% of that time. So the accrual, we're not discounting, you can accrue up to 80 days, you can get paid out up to 40 days whenever you depart from the county if you have a balance in your PTO. So they have flexibility to retain it and use it to prepare for events down the road, with the knowledge that they'll be able to get paid out a portion of it when they separate. The community service wellness days are not, those are just, you get those at the beginning of the year and you have the ability to use them during the year. Those don't roll over into any account. Separation payouts in here, that just reiterates that we're not changing the sick leave payout and brings in the PTO payout eligibility. And then the other item, it's a paid time off, but it's not part of the PTO benefit, is in regards to the floating holiday. And this was brought in originally because the floating holiday right now is the day the employee can take at their discretion and get paid for. Initially, I considered bringing that into the PTO benefit rather than having it as a floating holiday. But that employees did like the idea of having the 11 holidays. The floating holiday, though, to me it's a relic. It's something I think came out of the union time when we're trying to even out all the days off employees had. It is a benefit to the employee, but I think there's a better way to have some benefit for the county as well. And just make it a permanent holiday, but a flexible one. So every year we could take a look at the calendar and see a day that makes sense to put a holiday on. And just as an example, I threw out New Year's Eve Day or President's Day. Those are holidays in some employers. But also, like this past year, July in 2023, July 4th was on a Tuesday. Monday, July 3rd was a work day. We had over a quarter of the employees, probably a third of the employees, take a day off. It'd be a benefit to us just to be able to say we're closed. Days like that, when you have a lot of people out and taking time off, is usually a good indication the public's not going to be here. And it's also you're working with skeleton crews in a lot of offices, which isn't really efficient. Likewise, this year in 2024, July 5th falls on a Friday. We'd have the same situation. And there's, looking at the calendar going ahead, there's certain holidays that have that gap day that I think would be a good time to consider a day off. I've also heard from employees that thought, applying a holiday in the springtime would be a good use. But I would propose making it a permanent but flexible holiday and have an employee committee look at the calendar, and we would either give them a list of days, because we also have to coordinate this with the court. That's something we would need to communicate ahead of time to try to time it with the day that they're going to be closed or can be closed. But have the employee committee look at it and apply that floating holiday to a specific day every year rather than leave it as just a day off for the employees. Trying to think of any other components here.
Ms. Hessel has a question.
Mr. Buckholz had his light on before I did.
Mr. Buckholz?
Andy, would the employee get paid for that day off? Like, if the 4th was on what you said, and the courthouse or everybody, you closed it down, would the employees get paid for that day?
Yeah, it'd be a paid holiday.
Paid holiday.
Yep.
Let's say both days.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Hessel.
So could you confirm that this was not done as a effort to save the county money? Some people were concerned about that.
Thank you. That's, yeah, I think when I rolled it out or presented it, and I just gave the timeline, I gave it to the department heads first to get feedback, then to the employees, took some feedback, and then sent another updated proposal to the employees. I guess I didn't clarify that up front. This was not, there is no cost savings to the county in this. This is not a budget measure. There is a small amount of risk to the county, probably more risk, from the standpoint of that if employees start banking their time rather than using it. If they keep using the time the way they have, it's a net even. It's no effect. If they bank their time and we have to do more payouts, there'd be a small financial risk, but there'd have to be a significant change in behavior for them to do that. This was done from the standpoint of wanting to give the employees an opportunity to control more of their days off. For some, it will be more discretion in their days. And I understand there are some employees that have different needs. I just, with the proposal, I tried to accommodate as much, find as much balance with the employees and the feedback and personal situations as I could. But I think overall, it's going to be a benefit to all the employees now and in the future.
And we also have our HR director on. Rose, can you hear us? Do you mind to comment on this for us, please? Is she on, Alex? Rose, can you comment on this PTO proposal, please?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. Yes. As I said before, it's been well received, or not well received, but it's 50% of the employees are okay with it, and
No, we can't hear you now. Okay. You had anyone else? You have another question?
If you don't mind, I just would like you to address I'm concerned that we don't respect the position at the highway department of emergency because they're working sometimes 18 hours a day. So because they're considered essential in emergency, our law enforcement can't get through if they don't clear the roads. The EMS can't get through if they don't clear the roads. Have you looked at that option? I'm sure that you have, but I just wanted for you to expound on that, of why they're not deemed the emergency service.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to go early on, is that really the proposal has nothing to do with emergency or not emergency. I mean, we try to actually balance out our paid time off across the board as far as holidays and vacation and sick. Holidays are different with the sheriff and EMS because they know they're already working on holidays, so we apply their time different, and they schedule different because they're scheduling again 24 hours a day, 365, and we keep those schedules filled out. So it really doesn't have anything. The time off doesn't have any real component with whether they're emergency or not emergency. I do acknowledge highway does have to work around the clock. If there's a storm, they get called out, and we do pay time and a half for any time they work outside of their regular schedule. Is kind of a I wouldn't call it a benefit, but it's compensation for having to be available to work outside of the regular schedule. But the PTO hours is now they're not. They get the same vacation, sick leave accrual. So I think getting them the same PTO accrual in the future would makes sense. I can't think of a reason why we would. It doesn't change the amount of time. I mean, actually, again, it's no different than other departments. Some are going to view that flexibility with those days off as having additional days, and some are going to look at it as a loss of time.
Okay. Mr. Kinsley. And then I'll go to anyone online that has comments, please. Any board members? Ron?
Thank you. I know Mr. Alvarado and his staff have done a tremendous amount of work in this area trying to get this accomplished. And I also know that they would like to get it started by January 1st. But I feel like there's still a lot of opposition with this. And if I understand it correctly, whatever you have for vacation and sick time is equal to PTO except for 4 days. You can pick up 2 days with the wellness program. So it's only a difference of 2 days. It's pretty close, but there's still a lot of opposition from our employees. We have to take care of our employees. We did try to go to PTO back 10 years ago, and it didn't go forward. Maybe this time it'll be different, maybe it won't. I have reserves because I'd like to have more of the employees buy in, because the employees take care of us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bissonette, do you care to comment, sir?
I guess the question that I would have had was, what if we're gonna convert to PTO, why wouldn't it be equal to the sick and vacation that they're getting? Why would they have to lose anything? I mean, I get what you're saying. They can pick up the 2 days, but they're still 2 days short. And so going back to the other comment that was read earlier, my concern is the same thing. 60% approve, or, would like to go with it. I guess my question on that is, when was that survey? Was that survey up front before anybody even knew the details of what this was? And so the follow-up question would be, if you took a survey now, would it still be at 60%?
It was done before, so there was no outline of the number of hours or days or how it would be converted at that time. If I had to guess now, if we took it, it'd be more than 60%. But I'm just gonna say, I don't believe in changing policy by vote either. I mean, I've listened to the positives and the negatives and tried to accommodate as many as I can. And the reason for not bringing to you a proposal that just rolls time over is we're in my viewpoint, we're giving a benefit by unrestricting those 10 days. And so I don't come bring to the board a proposal that's going to give the employees a benefit without some exchange. I mean, to me, that is a very, we're going to have a first year employee can accrue 20 days of paid time off with no restriction on it. To me, that's a significant benefit. It's 2 days less than they could have obtained, but 12 of those days would have been sick time. And that's, the sick leave benefit, and that's not where we started, but that has been probably the discussion with most emotion behind it, is that, sick leave is for, like I said, and this is in the policy, illness, injury, or medical appointments. And we run in some areas a high use of that time, more than what the industry would say you should be having. And I think part of that is culture. Part of it also is the definition of sick time has changed over the years. And going to PTO helps us navigate that by not having to make decisions on what is sick time and what's not sick time. But that's the reason why I didn't, I could have brought a proposal to you that just says, hey, we're gonna roll all the time over for vacation and sick into PTO. I don't think that's responsible on my part, because I think there is a trade-off there to the county.
Okay, Mr. Savitsky.
After reading Jason's letter a couple times, we're saying that they're only losing 2 days of vacation. He's saying that he's going to lose 33.6 hours, so 8-hour shifts. Are the public works guys losing, or highway department losing 4 days, or?
No, well, it's 33, but then you add in, and again, I understand this is a debatable viewpoint, but I think we've made the community service wellness days broad enough where anything qualifies. So that's 16 hours off of that 30 and a half. So it's 17 and a half. And depending, it's because of the way the current structure is, it's approximately 2 days. So in Jason's case, it's 17.5 hours. If you're a 5-year or more employee, I believe it's like 14 and a half hours. So it's, averages out around that 16-hour mark for every tier. A little bit more, a little bit less.
Is this what a lot of counties are going to, I guess, in the area?
More are going to it.
So we're not one of the first?
No.
Okay.
So, and it's not, I would say it's every year there's a few more counties. This year, Taylor County and Sawyer County, I proposed it. In the immediate area of the ones we kind of communicate with, Burnett, Rusk, Chippewa, St. Croix, Marathon, have all gone to it. Washburn and Barron are still vacation sick. But majority of the private sector is already at PTO, and now more public sector are going there. And I think it's because of some of the things I pointed out. I think it is the making time. So I wouldn't say it's equal, but there's some parity amongst employees, because depending on your personal situation, you might use a lot of sick time for reasons not even including your own sickness, and some employees don't. So it makes it equal that everybody has access to the same amount of time. And it also, and this has been brought out with discussions when debated with employees about, the reduction in time, because most people look at it as a reduction in sick time, is what this employee thinks is sick time and what this one thinks is sick time is different. And different departments have treated it differently. And I'm not even saying it's abuse, because I think it's just society in general has navigated what identifies as sick time differently. And it makes it hard, I think, for the managers to be able to manage it as well. And like I said, I don't want that was not where we started, but that's kind of been the debated part most heavily when we talk about the reduction in time.
Okay, Mr. Helwig. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, I read along with Mr. Kinley and said that concerned about what the employees have to say, and also that I'm kind of concerned about how it was brought to them that this proposal, the survey wasn't, the information wasn't given to them when the survey was done. And I know Andy's got a pretty good idea what the pulse is of the county personnel, but at the same time, go along with other representatives there, I think you might want to get another view of what the employees think now, knowing what the proposal is.
Okay, yep. Mr. Peters, did you have a comment, sir?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, Mr. Rusk?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Buckles?
Andy, does this proposal have to be acted on tonight?
It doesn't. The only part of it that potentially it's time sensitive is the floating holiday part, just because once we get into the calendar year, right now, if we left the floating holiday, employees could claim that in January. But that
wouldn't be the worst thing.
No, it wouldn't. That's the only thing that's really, because otherwise, whenever we start it, it's going to be their vacation balance is going to be there. We just start accruing PTO whenever it's implemented.
I mean, I've been listening to everybody here and the ladies back there, and I say, but I'm for the PTO, but I would like to have more input, like Mr. Kinsley says, it hasn't been out there long enough to get all the employees. So I'm gonna make a motion to postpone this PTO until the next county board meeting.
Okay, I got a motion in front of me, Mr. Kinsley.
Well, I guess I didn't realize it was, I'm sorry.
I'm looking for a second for discussion.
Yes, I'll second for discussion.
Okay. In discussion. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. They need a starting point, and I know communicating with Andy that when the starting point is, it's nice to deal with the payroll so you can start at the beginning of the payroll. I wouldn't be opposed to visiting it again next month but I'd also like to have more time for the department heads to talk to their employees, to explain the program. Because I don't think that's been done enough for the employees. I would like the employees to know more about it. And there's some misconception out there, and I know Andy's tried hard to straighten some of that out, but there's still some out there. I would like to have a lot better buy-in by our employees. So if we talk about next month, or if we implement it on July 1st, it's not gonna hurt the county any. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I believe from now or tomorrow until the next county board meeting, the department heads have that's enough time for them to get with their employees and see where it goes. So my motion stands as it is.
I've got a motion by Mr. Buckholt, second by Mr. Kinsley to postpone this
We're still in
until the January county board meeting. Right now, I have to go with the Madam Clerk. She has been waiting this entire time.
Ms. Hessel was waiting.
Well, we're still in discussion.
Well, she's going her third time, so I'll let you go.
Okay, as a department head, I could say we have received it several times, and at that time, we were directed to talk to our staff about it, so it has gone back and forth for quite a while with a lot of people, including department heads and staff.
Okay, now, Ms. Hessel.
I think Mr. Helwig had a question. He's only gone twice. I don't want to over abuse my time.
I'll go on you. Go ahead, Ms. Hessel.
Okay, so the school has sick vacation and PTO. I work for the state. The state has sick vacation and PTO. I think it is very common. I do think that everybody's done their due diligence except possibly for the department leads, because it seems like there's a hiccup in that communication process, and I would like the department leads to address that, because if they're negative against this, then the employees are going to be negative against it. So I just want that addressed and maybe worked through, but I agree postponing it might be better.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone. Mr. Helwig or Mr. Peters, did you have another comment, please?
I do. I just want to add that on that motion, that there is another survey done prior to the next meeting.
No, I don't believe we need the motion. What I'm saying is to table it until the next meeting and let the department heads talk to their employees. We don't need to have to do a survey. These department heads can come back to Andy or Lynn or whoever and tell them what it is and where they're at. That's the same as a survey. We don't.
Right, we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded, Mr. Helwig, and it's just to postpone this until the January county board meeting, sir. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Peters, Mr. Rusk? No. Anyone here? We've got this down, Madam Clerk, as a electronic vote. Motion is to postpone until the January county board meeting, where we'll take it up at that time. Motion to postpone. Are you ready, Madam Clerk?
It is on. You can't see it on the screen, but the vote should be open. One second, it's being a little pale again. Can we just take a voice vote, because this is being a hiccup?
Oh, sure. All right, the motion is to postpone this until our January county board meeting. Yeah, there you go. Okay, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Absolutely. Dale Schlueter. Yes. Ms. Wilson. No. Mr. Schuman.
No.
Ms. Hessel. Mr. Helwig. The vote. Yes or no to postponement?
Yes, postpone.
Mr. Savitsky.
Yes.
Mr. Bissonette. Yes. Mr. Rusk.
Yes.
Mr. Righeimer.
No.
Mr. Kinsley. Yes. Mr. Buckholz.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
The yeses have it.
Okay, motion carries. So it'll be on the January agenda, correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, it will.
All right. Mr. Alvarado, do you want to continue your report,
Yep.
sir?
Actually, it's going to be pretty short. Kind of at the point of the year, we're just trying to clean up a bunch of the same things. Courthouse renovation, we have 2 punch list items remaining. The floors, if you noticed out in the entryway, they did come back in November and try to resurface the floors to improve them. They're going to have to come back in January and try it again. And then the HVAC in the new building has continued to have bugs, so we have not accepted that work. It's not been fully functional. So those are the 2 items. Then we also have that's through the construction manager portion of the contract. And then we have the AV completion scheduled in January. That's on our owner's side of the equation. We are working to close out the rest of the project though, so we can bring down the amount paid to what's left, and then accept the parts of the project that are completed appropriately. Personnel, we're fully staffed at Highway. We started recruiting for clerk of court, a part-time deputy, and dispatch jailers, and then primarily paramedics in the ambulance service. We did work considerable about this last year with our new benefits broker to try to improve the benefits for the employees, and that I think did result in the favorable health insurance renewal and the ability to offer an option in plans, and then improved dental vision rates. So all of those went down for the employee. And then we did roll out health well-being incentives today as part of our health insurance or benefit proposal for the employees, to really put some effort into focusing on health and well-being, for our employees' benefit, but also in the long term, that's favorable for the county to make that investment. We just talked about the PTO proposal, and then HR continues to work on a couple of significant personnel matters. I just want to vouch for Rose. When she went home tonight, I told her I didn't need her, so she was not prepared to have to address the committee. So, budget 23, we're working on closing that out, and projections, like Mr. Kinsley said, look very favorable from an expense standpoint as well as the revenue side for closing out 23. Corporation Council is still the same list of items we've been working with them on, trying to limit our expenses there, but there are just some big items that we're trying to avoid future legal expenses. And then also getting close to having a number of ordinances ready for the committee to consider to update our book of ordinances, or code ordinances. Criminal Justice Council, a lot of good things happening there. Diversion remains consistent. It's helping, I think, keep our jail numbers down. Recovery Court starts in earnest January 1 and has, as of last week, had 4 referrals already. And then they've started the training for the law enforcement deflection grant. And then also the fentanyl awareness campaign is moving along, getting a lot of information into the public. I just want to reiterate the airport master plan. I know some of you heard about that from the constituents and what's happening at the airport. There is no effort underway to buy people's houses or property or to expand the airport. I anticipate when the master plan comes out, there will be opportunities that are presented that will consist of potential expansion, but there is no active effort. The master plan was not launched to do that. It is looking at, though, how the airport is being used, what's happening in the aviation community, what the safety standards are, and positioning us for making good decisions going into the future on how to operate the airport. So there will be a public meeting. They anticipated late February of 24, and then another meeting May, June time where public will be invited and able to comment and look at the work. If anybody wants to see the progress as it moves along, I've got the website there, the sawyercounty.airportstudy.net has the draft chapters as well as the background information for the master plan. Just economic development, the corporation has hired a new director. Adam Lamore is on board and pulling things together and catching up on things. No update on the broadband applications that have been applied for, and then we are getting BEAD updates and anticipate they'll be made available, and grants will be available mid-24. LCO, the Cooperative Tribal Law Enforcement Grant that was approved last month has been awarded. As you recall, we're largely out of the picture. We essentially sponsor the application, and the funds are distributed directly to LCO. And then we are working, Sheriff's Department, we went through proposals for a new vendor for the public safety radio network, and we had a kind of a walkthrough meeting with the potential vendor this week. And now we're working on getting a service agreement in place and scope of work as they start to move ahead, servicing and maintaining the radio system.
Okay. Andy, will the 23 budget have a surplus then? Because we talk about the record sales tax and forestry far exceeding their projections, and what do we do with that surplus?
Boy, that's a low. Without the finance
Yeah.
director here, he's probably not gonna want me to answer that. Yeah, postpone. I would say, yeah, I mean, right now, everything's tracking. Investment returns were good. Sales tax was above projection. We are looking at like sales tax to segregate that and keep that money separate. So we project sales tax. There's the potential that our projection might be off in future years, so we want to balance that out. A lot of our budget, and I know what Mr. Kinsley talked about the audit. We do have a healthy fund balance right now. We should have that, and this is going off your question a little bit, but a lot of our budget, a lot of our revenues are based off the market. A lot of other counties, a lot of their money is based off of levy and state aid. We don't get hardly any state aid, and so we rely on stumpage and sales tax.
Right.
Both those are market based. So we want to hedge against any dips in the market. But short answer, I believe there will be a surplus. We don't have everything identified. Just as something we'll think about, a couple of years ago, you allocated some of the surplus into the Resource Development Fund for dam projects. We did a dam project, so that fund's been drawn down. We know we have dam projects on the horizon, so that might be one recommendation that we come back with, is to allocate any available money into the resource fund, so we don't have to levy a, Jay, I heard a number of over 1 million for the next dam project.
Around there.
Yeah. So Jay did a good job of getting that mentioned this week, so it's fresh in my head. But that's something we need to kind of look into the future, what's coming, and plan accordingly.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Alvarado. Any other questions for Andy?
Can I
If
make a
not,
statement?
yes, Ms. Hessel, yeah.
This is my only time I'll talk about this subject, I promise. I just wanted, I know Andy put in a lot of work on that PTO, and I feel like we need to applaud that effort. I know you're getting beat up maybe a little bit, but thank you for doing all that you do.
And I guess I was going to add on that. So yeah, I'll communicate with the department heads. I don't send them out alone if they don't want to. So if they want me to come in, I've offered that if they want me to come in and talk to staff, that's always the option. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Yep.
And I agree with Ms. Hessel on that.
Okay, correspondence, reports, conferences, meetings.
I got one other question before we adjourn. Glenn, on my, thanks, Ron. On my motion on PTO, did I say table or postpone?
Postpone.
Okay.
You're good.
We're good.
So we got to add Merry Christmas to everybody, right? Have a safe and wonderful holiday, and we are adjourned. Thank you all.